What's going on, everybody? My name's Josh. I'm a local realtor here in the Madison, Wisconsin area, and if you have not been following along with my YouTube channel, you would not know that I've been doing a live and flip for over a year. So if you've been keeping track of all my videos, you'll know how much some of this stuff costs, but I wanted to break it all down in one simple video so you kind of know what to expect if you're going to take on your own flip yourself. But before I get too far into the video, please do all the things that make YouTube happy with me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. It really helps my videos and helps my channel grow. And if you have any questions about what it was like going through the flip, if they don't get answered in this video, please drop them in the comments or send me a message. I'm happy to answer anything. But in this video, I'm essentially going to highlight what I estimated the costs to be, what they actually ended up being, as I'm pretty much done with all of the work that I want to do for this house. Albeit there is going to be a couple things on the exterior and minor things that will come up, but this is the majority of the work that has been done. So let's get into it.
Hey, that's me, a 24-year-old Madison, Wisconsin realtor who just bought his first home.
Guys, I just bought a freaking house.
Join me as I show the highs and lows of owning a home and the true cost of renos on a starter home in my market. This is Down to the Studs.
So this isn't going to be in chronological order or anything. It's really just how I listed it out on my budget spreadsheet. First thing that I'm going to talk about was the furnace. So with this house, it originally was on a oil heat furnace. So it was ran off of fuel oil heat, which is kind of an outdated practice. Most of the homes, at least in Wisconsin, are now ran with natural gas. It's a lot more efficient, cleaner, and it ultimately doesn't cost as much to heat your house. So typically what would happen if I did keep this as a fuel oil tank is that I would have to find, if I ever wanted to replace the furnace, I'd have to get a furnace that's capable of taking fuel oil, which, as you expect, the more common way is natural gas, so it might be a little bit tricky to find one that is capable of doing fuel oil. When I bought the furnace was around 2003, which is about 20-ish years when I bought it. So it was towards the end of its life, 20 to 30 years roughly for a furnace if it was maintained properly. So for my city of Madison, actually getting the gas piping ran to the house was completely free. This was not something I budgeted for. I was actually kind of budgeting to pay something for that gas line being ran to my house. But what they did was they took it from the street, ran about 50 to 60 feet to the side of my house. Then I also had the big oil tank that was down there fully removed with the company that installed my furnace. So I got a new furnace, got the old oil tank that was housing the oil originally removed, and then got the natural gas ran to my house. So I estimated this cost to be around $7,000, and I was actually pretty spot on. It ended up being about $7,197. The next thing I'm gonna talk about is flooring. When I came into the house, it had these beautiful hardwood floors, but you can tell that they weren't taken care of very well, and they were only in 3 of the bedrooms. So you had hardwood floors, well, I guess you had hardwood floors in the living room, the 3 bedrooms, and the hallway, but the bathroom and the kitchen had this linoleum that just had to go no matter what. So when I was looking at flooring, I really wanted to have the same flooring throughout. So that was either going to be the hardwood, refinishing the hardwood, and trying to match that same exact tone with the old hardwood, which I figured was going to be a little too challenging and probably more expensive. So what I did was I bought LVP. It came out to about $230 a square foot just for the material. And I put that LVP throughout the whole entire house. Now, don't get me wrong, I was sad to see the hardwoods go. I love the value the hardwood floors bring, but I think this flow also brings value. So it's kind of an argument point. Yes, I'm getting rid of the hardwood floors, but in exchange, I'm putting in the same flooring throughout, and it's pretty good quality LVP. That looks really, really nice as well. It just matches a lot better. So with the flooring material and the flooring labor, I estimated it to be around $5,300, and the total cost for this entire project was $5,595.25. The next thing with this house was we had to paint the whole entire interior. The best thing you can do to your house is give it a fresh coat of paint. We wanted all the rooms to match, basically start with a blank canvas on the walls, and then over time we will actually make some accent walls here and there. So we were estimating $1,000 for the cost of the paint, We did this work ourselves, but we did finish it and it came out to $756.86. The next big project that we took on was the whole entire kitchen. I'm gonna break it down kind of by sections. The first would be the kitchen appliances. So when I bought the house, the kitchen fridge that was currently there was included, and then the old stove was there as well. There was no microwave, no dishwasher, just those two appliances were included. And that stove was retro, I mean like 1960s, 1970s. So we took that out, put it on the curb. Some guy came and took it. I think we put a free sign on it. It was gone in a day. People go crazy for old metals, I swear. So put the sign out on that stove, wasn't even sure if it was working. And then we moved that fridge that was in the kitchen to the garage. If you're from Wisconsin, you know how important a garage fridge is, whether it's to store your meat, your cheese, your beer, any of that stuff goes right into the garage fridge. So I knew that was a must to keep. Also, because we did bring the natural gas utility line for the furnace, I was now able to add a stove that was a gas stove. And if you haven't cooked on a gas stove, it is way 10 times better than an electric stove, and I knew I wanted that in my kitchen. So the new appliances that we ordered were a gas stove, a fridge, a dishwasher, because there wasn't one before, we wanted to add one, and then a microwave that sat over the stove. And all of that we estimated to be about $4,000. The actual cost of these appliances, after we were able to pick out exact specifications for them, came out to be $4,848.90. So a little bit higher than what we estimated, but still within the ballpark. Another super small fix that you can do that does not take a lot of time or cost a lot of money would be to switch out the light switch covers, the light switches, the outlet covers, and the light fixtures. This whole entire house was like that gross cream color, does not match with what the current vibe is with the white and gray. We wanted to flip all of those cream colored outlets to the white outlets with the white covers as well. And then also just updating the fixtures to match and get a little bit more modern of a feel. Again, very cheap, very easy to do. So we were estimating about $2,000 with that small labor and material included, but it only came out to be $1,216.75. The next project we had, not chronologically, but just the one that's on my list, was the baseboard trim. So if you saw my first couple videos, you may see that the trim was like this 2-inch thick or 2-inch tall oak trim that was very common in the 90s and the 80s. So what we did was take that full trim off, and as we were taking that trim off, we put a ton of holes into it, and some of the holes went higher than that 2-inch baseboard trim. The original goal was to save that baseboard and salvage it and just paint it and reinstall it, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise. We actually ended up tearing almost every single baseboard just because we didn't have the exact tool we needed to rip off the baseboard. So we had to get all new baseboards in the house, but the tall baseboards that we got, so they're now 5 inches tall, it actually looks way better than the small baseboards. I don't know what's about it, but it's just very eye appealing to have those baseboards now. So it kind of sucked in the moment. It was an unplanned thing. We were gonna save this stuff, but it did not cost that much money. All in, our estimate was, again, around $2,000, and we were pretty spot on with this estimate. It came out to be $1,995.84. Another big thing with this house was when I bought it, it had the old fuse box panels. So old electrical. Essentially, if I had to go reset the breaker, I'd have to push in a fuse box for it to reset, and it's just an older style of electrical. Now you have the ones where you toggle back and forth. I'm getting a new kitchen, so they required me to have a new electrical panel anyway. My estimated budget for this was around $3,000. And like I said before, I know an electrician, he's a good friend of mine, and it actually only came out to be $1,780. I've been told that that's a really good price for an electrical panel. I was expecting $3,000, and you can probably generally expect $3 to $4 grand depending on the work that they're going to be doing. Mine was pretty simple. It was just the panel itself and replacing it, but there could be a whole myriad of different things that they need to do. It just really depends on your situation. The next thing with the kitchen was the kitchen sink, the faucet, and the little pulls on the cabinets. So very minor stuff, but the kitchen sink I got, I must say, I absolutely love. It's one of those deep basin sinks, so there's no divider in the middle. And it also came with this super sick cutting board that's super good quality and a little drying rack. So just nice little perks with how good of a commercial grade faucet it was. The faucet was gold to match all of the handles as well. I knew the cost for this was gonna be minor, so I budgeted around $600 for all of these things, but the total cost for these things came out to $891.10. All right, the big kahuna with the kitchen, the cabinets and the counters. I mean, these are for sure gonna be costing you guys the most amount of money in your kitchen renovations. No matter what type of kitchen you're doing, these are gonna be the most expensive things to do. And again, being new to this, I didn't know exactly what to budget for. So I just figured, okay, it's a small kitchen. Let's figure $10,000 for these cabinets and counters. And when I say $10,000, this is really just for the material itself. I'm not factoring labor. That will actually come into a different part of this video. I was also going with a very basic white cabinet, nothing crazy fancy. And if you don't recall, from one of my previous videos, I had the very low quality cabinets that would come damaged every single time. So I did get that free upgrade to the next tier up. The actual cost for this material came out to be $7,204.23. Just keep in mind, my kitchen is about 11 feet by 10 feet. It's quite small, so it's not this big grand kitchen. That's gonna play a huge role into how much your kitchen remodel actually costs. Alongside the kitchen, I knew for sure once I'm gonna do this full-on remodel, I couldn't just leave it unfinished. I needed to have a kitchen backsplash. Now, the kitchen backsplash, there's so many different designs you can choose from. We went with a nice picket style with white grout. The grout color shouldn't matter as far as different cost goes, but definitely the different types of material. Ours is like a marble backsplash, so you can go cheaper, you can go more expensive than that. But really, we just were drawn to the design, how it was vertical, and then we wanted something that wasn't drawing your eye directly to the backsplash, just kind of wanted like a subtle touch. So we chose the white grout instead of the black grout because we felt that black grout would be too in your face, and I'm glad we went with the white grout because it definitely is exactly the look we wanted. So with the backsplash material, we were estimating about $1,500 for this small area of the kitchen. And it actually was pretty spot on. The actual cost of the backsplash came out to $1,410.56. Last cost relating to the big kitchen remodel, which was by far the biggest project that I had planned for this house, was the kitchen labor. So as you may know, I'm not very handy at all. So I had pretty much everything in the kitchen hired out, from installing the appliances to installing the cabinets and counters. I just really wanted to make sure it was done properly. So if you're someone that's super handy and can take on a lot of these kitchen remodel fixes yourself, you're gonna save a lot of money when it comes to the labor. And I estimated that work to be $10,000, but the whole entire kitchen install remodel labor ended up being around $7,204.23. Another thing that we ended up doing was replacing the whole entire AC unit. So my estimation for this was a little off. I estimated it to be around $3,500 for the install and the material, but it actually ended up being around $4,940. But this price also includes a central humidifier. One of the bigger projects that I knew I wanted to do as soon as I bought the house, but I wasn't exactly sure when I would end up doing it, was to fence in the yard. And actually I was able to fence it in much sooner than I thought. The yard is on 1/3 of an acre, and when I bought it, there was a couple sections that did not have the fence. So it was in the back left, the back right, and then the two up front didn't have a fence. So when I had the person from the fencing company come out and measure, I think it was around 40 to 50 linear feet that I needed to completely fence in the yard. I also wanted to match the style of my fence to my neighbors, and they had a 6-foot tall wooden shadow box style fence. To my knowledge, this is a more expensive style of fencing because wood nowadays is expensive. I estimated the fence to cost around $5,000. But the total cost of this fence to fence in the entire yard was $4,356.20. One of the unexpected fixes that I had with the house was a pest control situation. We had especially in the winter and the early part of spring, we had a mouse problem. It wasn't overly bad. I mean, I think my cat did a pretty good job of these, can I say on YouTube? Sorry, I probably can't say that on YouTube. My cat did a pretty good job of getting rid of these mice. You can infer what that means, but he's a pretty badass cat, I gotta say. He's got no claws, so he's just punching at them, and he did a really good job of getting rid of them. But I knew he can only put up so much of a fight, so what I did was I had traps down in the basement. They didn't really catch anything, and we were still getting these mice inside. I had a friend's dad come out. He gave me a really good price because it was a friend of mine's dad. He came out and said, okay, this is what we're gonna do. This is how much it costs. And basically what they did was seal up the basement because there was no insulation in the basement at all. So now I have insulation in the basement to not only keep out pests, but also for heat efficiency because I was losing a lot of heat through there. So it just made sense. But this was not a cost I was expecting. So when I was planning this out, I estimated about $2,000 for everything, and it came out to $2,042. And then a simple fix that I wanted to do was replace the garage opener. Luckily for me, I have a family member who sells garage doors and installs them, so I got probably a really good deal on this as well. What I did was I installed a one of those garage openers where you can open it from your phone. The garage openers in my car, they used to be, I mean, the garage opener originally was from the 80s probably, if not earlier, so it was kind of hit or miss if it was gonna open, and you had to press the garage opener a certain way. And now it's without a doubt gonna open, so it's super nice. It's been super handy. The garage opener itself, I didn't really estimate for this. I just kind of took it as it was. It was $475. The last thing, and arguably one of the biggest projects in the house, was replacing all of the windows. So when I first replaced the windows, I had the budget for a little bit of the windows. So I got the 3 windows in the kitchen replaced because that was going to be the newest part of the home. And I got majority of my windows fixed. The only one I didn't get replaced was the big bay window in the living room. That was actually newer than all the other windows in the rest of the house, so it didn't need to be replaced, and that would have been much more expensive. But all of the double hung windows, so the ones that slide up and down, did get replaced with really nice white vinyl windows that are going to last really way longer than I'm going to be in this house for. And windows are one of those more expensive fixes, but they add so much value to your home. It's one of those things that people definitely stress when they're looking at a home to see if, you know, one of those big ticket items, i.e. the windows, are on the newer side. So I estimated this to be about $16,500. And the total cost for these windows, it was about 8 or 9 windows, including the small one in the garage, came out to be $17,019.73. And that is the majority of all the fixes that I've done. Like I said, there are going to be a couple small things here and there, but the total cost in general of all the fixes I've done to this home came out to be $69,523.26. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys enjoyed the new setup, the lights, the backdrop, all of that's brand new. Shout out to my photographer and videographer for hooking me up with the equipment for that. And if you guys like this style of content, be sure to let me know. I'm happy to produce more and more videos like this. And if there's anything else you guys are looking forward to, be sure to drop those suggestions in the comments as well. Follow me on social media. Reach out to me if you have any questions. If you're looking to buy or sell in Wisconsin, I'd be happy to help. Get a hold of me, get in touch with me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Oh, voice crack. Next video, guys. I'll see you guys then.